Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/idontworkherelady, where people tell us their craziest stories on when they got mistaken for being an employee at somewhere they didn't work. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax and enjoy some Reddit stories. Store manager screwed me for the last time. The cast, me, store manager as SM and HR lady as HL. So I worked for Target for far too long, and by the time I quit, I had to put up with enormous amounts of BS from customers and the upper staff. My work schedule was chaotic, and after repeating complaints to HR and the store manager, I started getting nights. Unfortunately, when you're closing and working the back room, no one tells you any updates happening in the store. I don't like dealing with customers too often, so I chose to work in the stock room or receiving to lessen that chance. So when suddenly I was scheduled to work on the sales floor and work customer service desk, I was confused and really annoyed. I spoke to my department manager and store manager only to find out that my job was dissolved and no longer a role. So I quit. I gave my 2 weeks notice. HR walked me through it, and they said they'll call me to cash me out, and I'll be done. As I said before, the scheduling there was awful, so I received my call from HR and went to pick up my final check on Friday. The store schedule had me down to work Friday and Saturday after the cash out call. When I go to pick up my check, the store manager yells at me for not being in uniform for my shift. I told him I'm only here for my check. He disregards that and claims, I was paid for that Friday and Saturday shift, so I'm obligated to work it. Me, being a fool, apologizes and puts on a vest, then works that Friday shift. At the end of the night, the store manager writes me up and wants me in tomorrow on time. So now it's Saturday and I show up in uniform, and the HR lady looks confused and asks me why I'm there. I tell her what happened the night before. She says, no, we already wrote the check. You just had to pick it up. Store manager can't write up someone who isn't working here anymore. So HR lady takes me to the customer service desk to give me cash for the last shift, and store manager is there. He begins by listing off all the things he wants me to do. I reply, no, don't work here. Wasn't supposed to work last night either. This is confirmed by the HR lady. So his response is, well, you're already here and in uniform, and the online orders are really backed up, so do me a favor. I said, sure thing, took my cash from the HR lady and walked out. Okay, you've got to be some next level bad manager to not realize that your employees don't work for you anymore. Karen expects a 15-year-old kid to do everything for her precious daughter. Ah, Karens. I never thought I would meet one in the wild, but I did. K is Karen, KD is Karen's daughter, and M is me. At this time, I had pretty much just turned 15. This story takes place at a small art store near my home. This store is fairly small and only has 3 employees working in it. I really like to draw, so I come into this store maybe once every second week, and me and the 3 employees were on fairly good terms. I had just gotten off school, and since it was a pretty nice day out, I decided to take a slightly longer way home so I could stop by the art store. I was walking the entire way with my headphones on, blasting some music, and I kept them in the store. I did quiet the music down a lot, so if anyone needed to say something to me, I would hear it. Now, this store didn't have a lot of customers at once. I think the most I've seen is 5 including me, and this day was no different. There was a guy maybe a few years older than me looking at some paint markers. And then there was the Karen and her daughter. I didn't think anything of them since they weren't doing anything yet. I quickly went over to the section with a bunch of sketching pencils and began picking out the ones I needed. Now, I am a person that hates all confrontation. I will avoid it at all costs. I get nervous and stressed easily, so if someone tries to annoy me, I will try to ignore it. Karen's daughter appears in the end of the shelf I'm looking at. She looks at me for a while before walking up to me. She tugs on my shirt and I look down at her and take out one of my headphones. "Can I help you?" "I need markers." I look at her in confusion for a moment. I'm sorry, but I don't know where they are." That was not fully a lie. Telling someone at an art store that you are looking for markers is pretty useless. Karen's daughter looks at me like I've grown a new head. "You need to find me markers. I want markers." At this point, she is raising her voice a lot, and I really don't want a screaming child in front of me. So I quickly grab the last pencil I need before turning to Karen's daughter. "I'm sorry, but I really can't help you." I then plugged my headphones back in and walked out of the pencil aisle. I quickly moved over to the section where they have some Copic markers, some very good but also expensive markers. After I found about 4 that I needed, my shoulder was roughly grabbed and I was turned around. I then came face to face with a very angry Karen. I was a bit shocked from being grabbed so roughly, so I didn't catch what she said. "I'm sorry, what?" Karen now looked furious. The hand that was resting on my shoulder now grabbed and yanked my headphones out. "How can you just wear headphones in here? How irresponsible are you?" I was now very confused and was getting extremely nervous. "Lady, I'm sorry, but I have no idea what you're talking about." "Oh, don't pretend to be innocent. You don't just get to ignore my kid and then act like nothing happened. Now, do your job and help my daughter." "I'm sorry, lady, but I don't work here. I was just getting some supplies for myself." I weakly lifted up my hand that still had the pencils and markers in it. This was not the correct thing to do. Karen looked ready to slap me. "Don't you try to play innocent, young lady. You obviously work here." "What?" "So now you are going to help my daughter, or I will inform your manager about your behavior." "I'm sorry, but I don't work here. Now please get off me." This was finally over when one of the employees noticed me and Karen and came over. "Is everything okay here?" "No, this girl was ignoring my daughter. You really need to watch out for these young people you are hiring. Some young people will just slack off." Now, I was really starting to get annoyed and tired. Karen still hadn't taken a step back and was way too close for my liking. "I already told you, I don't work here. Now please take a step back." The employee looked at me and then at Karen, before they got an angry look on their face. "Ma'am, please back off the customer or I'm going to remove you myself." Karen finally took a step back and turned her full attention to the employee. "How dare you? She was clearly the one in the wrong." The employee looked over at me and could easily see that I was starting to shake. The employee said my name. "You can leave. I will handle this." I quickly thanked the employee before walking around both of them and Karen. In less than 10 seconds, I was at the cash register where I quickly placed all the items I still had in my hand before quickly booking it to the door. I could hear Karen yelling at that poor employee before I left. I didn't go back to that store for around a month, but when I finally returned, the same employee came up to me and started to apologize for Karen's behavior. Apparently, she had continued to yell at the employee until they had to remove her and her then crying child from the building. Oh, we need more employees like that guy. You see, that guy was like, "Okay, let's just split this up and I'll talk to you," but I kind of feel bad for him that he had to deal with her. "I don't work here, I live here." We lived in this 4-unit apartment building. There were 2 apartments on the first floor, 1 on the second floor, and 1 on the third floor. We were on the first floor. The second floor was running an unlicensed childcare service. We'd sometimes hear a child running across the floor, doing kid things. That wasn't the problem. The problem was their parents coming to pick them up at all hours of the day. I'm talking any time during the day, 10 at night, or even 4 in the morning. They would constantly ring our doorbell to get us to let them in the building. We eventually called our landlord about it, and all they did was remove our doorbell. All it had left were 2 wires sticking out. It still technically worked if you completed the circuit, or our actual visitors would just call us directly to let them in. Our dog now considers our phones ringing as an intruder alert. Bonus: sometimes they would hang out by the entrance and chat on their phone very loudly. Mind you, our next door neighbor's living room window is right there, and it's not an ideal spot to get comfortable. Then, one day, we heard someone blasting something inappropriate in the middle of the afternoon. We later found out it was our neighbor trying to make it as awkward as possible. Maybe they need some massive sign to tell them, but that last neighbor was a hero. I'm not a doctor or a nurse, sir. A bit of background info. My mum is the head of the dermatology department in the local hospital, and while in high school, I used to go in to help her with some basic filing and putting away boxes that were too heavy for her. As a note, the hospital has a very strict dress code for its workers, i.e. full white attire, no crazy hair colours, no visible tattoos, no shorts or short skirts, no long nails, etc. My country also doesn't allow hospitals to employ anyone under the age of 16. I have the worst case of babyface syndrome, and at the time I was 14, but looked around 11, and had bright neon pink hair, so there was no way anyone could have thought I was a hospital worker. Or so I thought. On that day, I was in my mum's office, packing up some boxes and shelving them when an older man pushes the door open and walks in without knocking. My mum's office, room 18, is the last one on the hallway, and he had to walk past 7 other dermatology examination rooms to get here. The door also has a sign saying, "Do not disturb, appointments are in room 17. I got sent over from trauma and they said I need an appointment to see a dermatologist. I'm sorry, but I don't work here. If you need an appointment, you need to speak to the nurses 1 door over to the right. Trauma told me I need an appointment. I understand, but I do not work here. I cannot give you an appointment. If you would just go 1 door over, the nurses there can help you. But I need an appointment to see a dermatologist. They sent me over from trauma. Yes, I understand that, but I do not work here. Please go 1 door over and ask there. The nurses can give you an appointment to see a dermatologist there. So, can you give me an appointment? Me completely had enough. Please follow me. I go 1 door over, knock and tell the nurse that a man needs an appointment and got sent over from trauma. The old man continues to be totally bewildered that he needed to speak to a hospital worker to get an appointment. I go back and finish packing the boxes. To be fair, he was sent over from trauma, so, you know, it was kind of obvious what was going on, but the OP did pretty good there. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.